at the Open Mobile Summit and pleased to be joined by Aber Whitcomb. He is the Chief Technology Officer with SGN. And Aber, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So first, just quickly tell us about your role there with SGN.
Sure, I'm the CTO at SGN, which means I'm responsible for all the technology and the strategy for developing games. We're a cross-platform game development company. We create mainly social, casual games, but our thesis is we develop games for every platform, every mobile platform, every screen size, including the web as well.
Which opens up a whole world of issues for, on the tech side in particular. I mean, you think about, you used to just make a game for the web, and there it was any device you accessed it, whether it was a laptop or a desktop, I was at work or whatever, it always was the same. But now, even within mobile, you've got different operating systems, different headaches, I take, for you guys.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. You have to think about multiple screen sizes, you have to think about multiple operating systems, multiple devices, so you reach a lot of challenges.
What's the biggest hurdle?
Well, I would say operating systems are definitely a challenge because they require two completely different code bases if you're developing natively. So what we try to do is we try to find a common ground in between to develop a game once and then create specific extensions that are that fit into a platform or a device.
How laborious and how expensive is that?
It's taken us a couple years to get it right. So a significant amount of time. You have to think about having a common backend for your games where every device and platform can plug into. You have to think about developing art that can handle different screen sizes, so it's not pixelated when you get into a bigger screen.
Right.
And it's really, you really have to integrate it into the DNA of your company to develop a truly cross-platform game or app.
So these are some things entrepreneurs should certainly know before they go and create that first app. And how difficult is it, just simply to make it, do you have to do a separate app, or how difficult to just make it look the same when you're on a tablet versus the cell phone version, the mobile?
Well, it starts with game design, right? Because you need to think about the user experience. So if you're on a tablet, you have a lot more real estate to deal with, so you can spread things out. When you're on a smaller mobile device, you may have to change that UI. So all of that logic and information has to be built in at the beginning, and then it has to be implemented later on.
Where are we going in terms of personalized games? I mean, you co-founded MySpace. That was all about personalization, customization very early on. Where are we going now with the social and casual gaming in personalizing? Because there's so many games out there to stand out. It's got to have something that appeals to me to keep me playing.
Right. Well, a key integration point to that is identity. Right. You want to make sure people are identifying who they are, and so often on mobile devices, you're very anonymous. In fact, Apple has gone out of their way to make you completely anonymous to app developers. So we really encourage our users to authenticate with us, whether they're using Facebook or something else. That allows us to bring in your friends graph and connect you with other people, and then you can either join forces with them or compete against them, and it makes things a lot more interesting.
Which also opens up a ready-made customer base for you, perhaps, anyway, because if this person likes gaming, then
you have viral opportunities. Yeah, exactly.
And how are you able to tap into this pretty successfully? I mean, do you have a higher success rate if you have me go in through Facebook and you get my social graph, and my friends more likely to play than just spamming someone or other advertising methods?
Yeah, it's night and day. So cross-platform game players actually are much more engaged than regular players who are non-authenticated. That's because all of the viral channels can go across multiple platforms. So if I'm sending you a request, you can see it both on the web or on your mobile device and become engaged. We tend to see monetization go way up when people are playing on multiple platforms. Pretty much every KPI you can think of goes up when you can get people to authenticate and play on multiple platforms.
And I guess maybe that increases user engagement long term, because clearly one of the problems that many of these companies are having in your space is that you're relying on fewer and fewer players to pay more and more of the freight in terms of pay to play, and that's become a major issue. What's the solution for that?
For getting users to monetize
and to
more?
stay with you, and not only to monetize more, but to stay with you and keep playing and paying.
Yeah, retention. Well, that's the challenge. We're trying to improve every day on that. But what we do is we try to create evergreen games, and that means it's not the type of game where you can just finish and you're done with it. So we are constantly creating new content. We tend to have a whole type of game like casino style games that don't get old. They're very familiar to people, and they'll come in and play, and then
they have basically sort of what insiders would say virtual currency, right? I mean, they've got chips. Everyone understands what poker chips are, and how they're used, and so the buy-in is maybe a little more natural because the game in the real world. But what about other games that you make up from scratch? How is the adoption for that type of a virtual currency?
Well, I mean, virtual currency is key to having an economy and ultimately monetizing a game. In order to get people more and more involved in the economy, we'll provide sales. To every once in a while, we do deep analytics on how customers are using the back end to know if they're about to churn, or to know if they're super influential. Then maybe we'll give them special deals. And then, of course, the viral hooks are very, very key. So always encouraging people to communicate with their friend, to gift with their friends, to get them giving back and forth to each other.
What about haptics? This is a whole new thing that's coming to handheld devices. So do you see that helping? Like if you're playing a game and it gives you this tactile experience, that it rumbles, it does whatever, like your video game controllers. Do you think that would enhance the experience to encourage people to stay longer on, because these games are generally created to be short-term playing. I mean, you're on your mobile phone, you're on a tablet, you stay longer engaged. But what do you think about the advent of that? Is that going to be a game changer at all, or is that just sort of icing on the cake?
Possibly. I think that's just. I think that's probably an added feature that's people are going to like, and it's maybe slowly going to get integrated. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a game changer. I think I recently got a demo of Google Glass. I think something like that could potentially be a game changer for.
How would that work with games?
Right now, the input is very limited. You can only talk to it and use the side, but eventually there's going to be kind of an augmented reality situation where you can press what you're seeing, and as soon as you have that type of input, a whole new world of game development opens up for that.
So you'll be playing your 3D chess like Mr. Spock, or
exactly.
The crazy chessboard on the Millennium Falcon.
Yes,
holograms.
That will be possible. Yeah.
Before we get down that line, though, what's sort of the next great trend here for social and casual gaming as you face these challenges of keeping engagement? What do you see as sort of the next phase here? What's the next step?
Well, there's just a lot of interesting things happening with data on games, and we're always finding whole new worlds. I think right now user acquisition is becoming more and more interesting on mobile. You're able to reach a lot more people through advertising, with Facebook opening up their mobile ads product. So I think it's still the big low-hanging fruit is just that there's so many more people to reach right now with casual games, and people who don't consider themselves gamers, but they're going to start playing games. So we're very excited about digging into KPIs and getting into real-time bidding systems to acquire a lot more users to our games.
What about any legal issues as you go from country to country, maybe even state to state? Are you running into regulatory hurdles that, you're talking about virtual currencies, there's been a lot of controversy around Bitcoin, and so how is that being handled in your industry?
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. Real money gaming is slowly kind of changing in the United States. There's now 2 states, Nevada and New Jersey, that allow legal real money gaming, which is interesting. So there's a lot of regulatory things to consider if you're getting into that industry. First of all, just getting licenses, and then making sure you have the geography locked down very specifically. Other than that, not a whole lot with casual games besides the COPA laws with children. You have to be very careful about. There's always they've recently changed how you can contact people of certain age, through push notifications. The laws have been changing there.
A lot of change ahead. Aber Whitcomb, thanks so much for joining us from SGN.
Thanks for having me.